Oh my goodness! Battle Cat, you a fool for this one!
Welcome to the foundation. It is yours truly, the incredible DJ Battle in the building. And it feels good to be back in the building. It's a new year, y'all. Disclaimer time, basically letting you guys know that, hey, it's just the king up in here. And I'm just going to talk about a few subjects, but you know how the spill goes. I don't want no drama, no BS, no legal issues at all. After all, for entertainment purposes only. First and foremost, Happy New Year. I'm glad to finally be up on here, man. It's just been year's been off to a crazy start, but I'm definitely happy to be here. And whew, it starts off with a bang, y'all. Like I've been saying on my pretty much on my previous shows, and I keep telling you guys, watch how the president turn up the heat once the Epstein files come in. I had a great time, getting out the country, getting a chance to cruise. But what's the first thing I noticed when I get out there, especially on the tail end of the trip? I noticed people coughing and hacking on the tail end of the trip. I was like, oh boy, here we go. Flu season. So I said, I stay on top of my vitamins and supplements, all that good stuff. But it didn't stop me and the family from getting the flu. In fact, even one of us ended up in the hospital. It was just so bad. But, definitely thankful we were all able to bounce back. And I appreciate everyone who was checking on me. I feel like this strain of the flu has been a little bit something different. It's a little bit stronger. I noticed a lot of people checked out. I know normally flu season does always happen, but I don't know. Like I said, the timing of it was just like, bam, it just hit. The moment those files came out, what happened? All of a sudden, the tensions just pick up in Venezuela. It was under attack. And before you know it, the very next thing we know is that the U.S. goes in and take away, Venezuela's leadership, President Madura. I said, wow, the lengths this man would go through to keep folks from focusing on those millions of files that are being revealed. And like I told you, watch how much stuff will unfold. Look how much stuff unfolded since the last time I've been on. You might as well say we in war. Anytime, what else would you call going in and seizing another country's oil resources, taking one's leader and bringing them back to the States? What else we want to call it? Besides taking over another country's resources, which we know that ultimately that's what he always wanted anyway. Trump made that vocal and made it known, right? So now we have all this chaos unfolding. Neighboring countries like Colombia, they're pretty much, got their eyes on the situation, got their troops on the border, because they feel like, hey, their country could very well be next. And I wouldn't be surprised at the way things are going. Nothing would surprise me. I just pray that, folks who have their loved ones in the military, I just pray for them because they're going to be all over the place, stressed out, and the outcome's not going to be good. And then we got eyes on Greenland. I shouldn't say we. Let's say the president has his eyes on Greenland. He's been, speaking about this for quite some time. In my mind, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Right? Besides pissing other people off, like other countries off, like France. France pretty much and the Danish, they're pretty much, ready to fight for it. Right? And then don't forget Taiwan in that situation. China clearly saying, hey, that's ours. And you got to keep in mind, China made it known. Hey, we have not only, nuclear resources, they have what kind of bomb do they have? Also made it known that it possesses a hydrogen bomb that pretty much can go undetected and inflict a lot of damage. So that's something to think about. So you look at all those locations that I'm talking about, all those different regions. Of course, with Europe threatening to close all the U.S. military bases. You look at all that activity going on. That sounds like Trump against the world almost. I don't want to say the U.S. against the world because, like I say, a lot of the majority of the people are against all these actions that are taking place. So it's a hot mess. And you better pray real hard for this country, because it's only a matter of time before all these countries around the world just move their target and put us on the bullseye. So yeah, I definitely praying that this whole global conquest comes to an end. It's a whole lot at stake. Let's take a look at the other current event that's grabbing the headlines. Everyone should have seen this shooting now. It's horrible. That's the best way to say it. And I know, some commentators and, say that the shooting was justified, or the young lady that was gunned down in Minneapolis. But come on, y'all, really? Clearly shows what it really was. It's a cold blood murder. Now, let's say they try to justify by saying that the ICE agent that shot the woman was mowed down in a previous situation. And I'm like, what the hell I got to do with this situation? Those are two separate situations. Why should the woman who got gunned down be presented as the one who ran him over? And that's how they try to frame it. We do understand that Renee Good, the woman who was gunned down, we do understand that she was interfering in ICE business, but in this shooting, she could clearly be seen as not being a threat. This one right here is just common sense. They could have just got the woman's license plate information, arrested her, gave her court date, and she probably would have got a fine. Let's just say at the worst, a day or two of jail time or probation. Nothing in that video warranted being gunned down. I don't care how many different angles you show it, it all showed the same thing. She had a clear path where she could drive away, and he just gunned her down, open and shut. So I'm not going to get into maybe he was justified. No, this point was clearly was being driven home, that they're willing to take lives and also instill fear to anyone else who would think about trying to interfere from this point on. With those kinds of actions, it speaks clearly to how you deal with certain types of people. You can just sit on your hands and, bow down in fear, or you speak the language they can understand. It's not going to take a genius to figure out which one is going to happen. So you got to lay low, keep yourself out of harm's way, and just be prepared for, some uglier days, because these folks are in boat. You saw the videos for afterwards, right? When people were protesting and, coming out, condemning them, there was, being pepper sprayed and, pretty much just getting the dogs sicked on them, for better words. And, Minnesota's already under a whole lot of turmoil with the Somalian situation and now this. So I expect it to be a hotbed. Even there was some drama in Oregon, from folks who were uprising about the ICE situation. I think 2 people got shot. Is really a whole lot unfolding. As you can see, the president, vice president, all the, everyone that's on the panel is pretty much like, hey, it was her own fault, her own doing. Man, that's cold-blooded, man. They just pretty much just emboldened. And like I said, I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. I don't see no positive outcome from the situation, and especially with the wars all over the place. It's also a good deterrent to keep elections from taking place on a certain level, right? And I think that's another goal. Let's just keep this going as long as we can take it. So yeah, it's a hot mess, man. But on to the next topic. Now, this next situation right here, I find kind of interesting. We all know what the American dream is, in most cases, to have a family and also purchase a single family home. And for a minute, with inflation and prices being driven up by large institutional investors, by them purchasing the homes and selling it to another investor, kind of like doing in-house sales so they can keep jacking the prices up and keep the American dream away from folks from obtaining it by raising the prices of homes to the point to where people can't afford it no more. That right there is, it's not the American dream because who wants to rent forever? I know some people prefer and choose, but we don't want that to be your only option because the prices are being just jacked up, inflated so high. But Trump, believe it or not, is trying to come up with a ban for those large institutional investors to obtain single family homes. I'm not sure how many homes are purchased by investors. I think in the most cases, most of them are by private owners who are renting homes, which is something different. That's a little something different than someone who's of a corporation that's purposely buying homes for the sake of making home ownership impossible and just capitalizing off of this. I think this would be a great idea, and so that folks can really obtain the American dream and not have to deal with these super inflated prices. So we're definitely going to keep our eye, see if he follows through on that. That'll probably be one of the positive distractions he'll have to keep everyone's mind off of the of the Epstein list. Now, let's go to this last subject, which I find kind of unbelievable to an extent, but you never know. The basketball player Draymond Green, family man, he has a few children, very beautiful family, right? But for some reason, the other day, this picture comes up online of a young man, apparently in high school, that says his mom slept with Draymond way back in the day, or she used to date him way back in the day. And everyone looks at the kid's features like, damn, that looks just like Draymond. So the first thing that comes to my mind is like, you know what? The jury's still out. Yes, this kid has the features, but one thing they never mentioned was the school he went to or his name. So we know with today's technology and AI, anything is possible. You can set somebody up and make a image of a child that looks just like someone, and you could really get away with, how can I say, blackmail someone to give you money to keep silent. So I gotta say, of course, Draymond denied it, and it's to me the information was just too vague for who the child was, and he looks just like him. But it does. With today's technology, you can easily doctor something like this up. So you're gonna have to have real footage. You're gonna have to have the mom come out and say this at a real location. Anybody could doctor up something. But man, could you imagine, boy, if it is his, that's crazy. But things happen, especially when you're in that lane of in high school or college, and a lot of women see you as a hot commodity. They want to try to put their hooks in you and get a child out of you. You see what Zion going through, Zion Williams, but that's something different. That's just somebody who got low self-esteem and just smashing all kinds of porn stars and women of low self-esteem. I mean, but this Draymond situation, man, I gotta say, whoever came up with this, because the information is too vague. You can't pinpoint a location or a school or even a real account where someone's taking accountability. But I'm sure we'll keep our eye on it and see what happens. But I'm not gonna keep you guys up. Definitely appreciate y'all for rocking with me to kick off this 2026 year. Hope everyone is off to a wonderful start. As far as resolutions and all that thing goes, I'm just a big fan of just steady progression. Not the moping, dragging on year to year. Woe is me. Nah. If you want better, do better. You got to set it out for yourself. You got to want better. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. And hey, let's keep rocking. Looking forward to kicking out some more shows, more interviews on the way. Let's keep this party going. Follow, subscribe, share with your folks. Hey, if you want to shoot some support to the Cash App, I appreciate that as well. But y'all stay cool, man. I see you guys on the other side. Maybe next week. Let's keep this thing going, y'all. Peace.